I'm Karen Severns. I'm a programmer, and as I said earlier, we're really, really honored, and I'm especially honored to be able to talk directly with Tony tonight. 25 years. It's been a long time, and we are so glad that you've brought this back because it's ripe for rediscovery. You know, you look at it, and of course, it's so splendid visually. I had seen it in 1999. I forgot that it's also verbal poetry. And you wrote the film. You wrote, directed, and produced the film. Can you tell us a little bit about how long it took to develop and what process you went through to bring it to the screen?
First of all, just thank you again for watching the film and for sticking around for the Q&A. I really appreciate it. You know, it's a kind of a tricky question to answer because it's weird. You know, you would think a film like this would take a long time, but this film actually took quicker than other films that were much smaller, which took a lot longer than this. So, you know, it's kind of ironic in many ways. The difficulty was not, you know, and part of that was I had made a short film before this called Yellow Lotus, and that was kind of the precursor to this. Also shot in Vietnam, and that was a really successful short, and that opened the door to make this film. The difficult part, you know, it kind of came together. I was very fortunate quickly. The difficult part was actually making the film. You know, once we got the green light and we got to Vietnam, then we realized, wow, there was just so much that we were trying to figure out as we went along. But in terms of, you know, the writing of it, as I was saying earlier, was during that time period when I was going back and forth to Vietnam a lot, and just, you know, part of it is I think I was just like, you know, a college kid, broke, didn't have a lot of money, so I spent a lot of time just wandering the streets and just hanging out with, you know, on, you know, between the hotels, as they say, and the stories were born from that. And I just want to acknowledge also, I had written a screenplay. Michelle Satter at the Sundance Institute had seen my short and then wanted to see what I was doing next. And it was actually through the Sundance Institute that got everything moving so quickly. So I want to acknowledge Michelle Satter and the incredible people at the Sundance Institute for helping move this project along as well.
Yes, you went through the Sundance Labs, and that was clearly important. Before we get to another question, we have runners on both sides with cards. If you'd like to ask Tony a question yourself, please raise your hand and write the question, and we'll get to that in the second half of the Q&A. So, Sundance, you won the Grand Jury Prize, the Audience Award, first time ever in history that both had been won by the same film, and of course the Cinematography Award. How did that change your whole trajectory?
First of all, can we just give a hand to Lisa Rinsler again? Thank you. Honestly, every time I watch it, I'm just like, you know, in awe of the film and the work that Lisa did. And Wing Lee, too, the production design. Thank you, Wing. Thank you. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Did it change the trajectory of your life after winning all of
yeah,
those awards?
I mean,
and of course, you went on to other festivals and won.
Yeah, I mean, the film
awards.
went on to other festivals, but it was a tricky time. You know, it was the first Vietnamese film to play at Sundance, you know, at that time, you know, in many ways, you know, we've come a long way, and that's a good thing. You know, I went to Sundance this year to, you know, play the restored version of the film for the 40th anniversary. And there were a lot of, you know, the Asian representation was huge there. We had something called the Sunrise Collective and, you know, Gold House and these, you know, we had a whole building and seminars and panels and a hub for Asian filmmakers. There was none of that when I was starting out. I remember like going to Sundance and it was just hard to find another Asian at the festival. Forget Vietnamese, you know, it's just like, you know, and when you find another, you're like, oh my God, there's another one, you know. So we've come a long way. So it was very difficult back then. And it was almost one of those things where, you know, it was almost like, oh, we let you do this. We're not going to let you do another one like this. So after I won those awards, every meeting I took was basically, you know, giving me scripts of projects that I really didn't want to do. So, and I had another script written set in Vietnam and no one wanted to make it. It was just, you know, it was one of those, like, we took a chance. Thank God we made our money back. You know, now let's take this and go do something else. And I just, you know, I wanted to still tell my stories. Very different time period. I think, you know, all this happened today. I think there was a lot more acceptance to move on to another story with Asian leads and Asian stories as but back then this was almost like this experiment that thankfully paid off for them, but no one wanted to do it again. So there was a lot of there was a big gap in terms of what I wanted to do, but we've come a long way, and amazing things are happening now. So I'm really, really happy to see that.
I actually remember that one of the big, well, at least for most of us, one of the big key points of the film was that Harvey Keitel was starring in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was basically, I love Harvey, and I think he's amazing in this role, and he tells a part of the story that's important, and thematically and sort of the where Vietnam and America was at the time. It was, that was a lot of that reconciliation was in the news a lot, so his character fit perfectly. But no doubt, if he wasn't in it, our budget would have been halved, so his involvement helped get the film made. I have to tell a quick funny story, and I love Harvey. But Harvey Keitel, obviously an icon, an amazing supporter of the arts. His involvement in Reservoir Dogs helped launched Quentin Tarantino's career. With his early films in the '70s helped. With Martin Scorsese, helped launch Martin Scorsese, and his work with Abel Ferrara. So he was an icon, and especially sort of the godfather of independent cinema. And, so I sent him the script, never thinking at all he would want to do the film. And I got word back that he wanted to do the film. And I was like blown away. I was like, there's no way in the world. Like, I actually had his poster up on my wall, when I was in school. So I fly to New York. I go and meet with him. And he said, I love your script, I love your writing, but I have an idea, Tony. I was like, yeah, great, of course, any idea you want to do. I want to play the role of the leprosy monk, Teacher Dao. And I went from being so excited to having my heart drop, and I was so down and depressed because I didn't know what to say at that moment, because I knew his involvement would pretty much greenlight the film, and how do you say no to Harvey Keitel? And there was this, long silence, and I said, and then he saw, he noticed silence, and he said this. He said, we can do amazing things with prosthetics these days, And then I finally said, but Harvey, I sent you the script. I thought it was obvious I wanted you to play the role of the one American, in the film. It wasn't really for you to choose which character. And then, but he was really insistent. He's this method actor. He felt like he can do it. And then I said, but Harvey, the film's going to be in Vietnamese. So he finally was like, oh, I didn't know that. I read the English version. Okay, never mind.
This is something.
So thank God that part, talked him out of it. But to his credit, I say that, but I love Harvey. He came to Vietnam. To balance it out, I will tell you another quick story. So we went there, part of the contract for American actors, you get your own trailer. That doesn't exist in Vietnam. Actors don't get their own air-conditioned trailer and stuff like that. And none of my other actors got it. And when he saw the other actors didn't have it, he actually gave up his trailer, basically sat under the tent like every other actor in Vietnam and worked in the same way with them. And then when we finished the film, he asked us to fund an orphanage, and he donated his entire salary on the film to an orphanage in Vietnam.
Hooray for Harvey.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I was remembering also, 1999, films by Americans were not subtitled, even if you went overseas and shot there, usually things were...
so I write in English, and then I actually give it to my mom to translate into Vietnamese. But, when I sent it out to the studios, I sent it out in English. So I had basically every studio was like, we want to meet on this, we love the writing, we want to make this film. And every one of them, when they found out it was actually going to be in Vietnamese, basically was like, okay, well, we thought it was going to be in English, we don't want to make it. Until, October Films, which is the independent arm of Universal, decided to take a chance on it. And I wasn't scared about the fact that it was Vietnamese.
And the rest is history.
Yes, I was very, very fortunate.
Because it also started changing things. People saw that, we could actually watch a film with subtitles and be entranced by it.
Yeah, it was still, I think now because of Netflix and all these other films coming out, I think the subtitles just aren't that big of a deal anymore. But back then it was a huge deal, and you had a fight between, whether the film would be dubbed or would be subtitled. And without a doubt, I would literally, I would give my life for the fact that I would never let this film be dubbed. Which is the whole reason why I made the film, was to hear the actual Vietnamese dialogue and the Vietnamese voices and the Vietnamese poetry and the Vietnamese singing. So that was really important to me.
This is directly related to that from the audience. Great job, Tali.
Great job. What?
Tali. Okay.
Tony? Maybe they meant Tony.
Okay. Did you set out to make a musical? The Vietnamese language is so melodic, and was that an inspiration?
No, it wasn't. I didn't set out to make a musical, but I wanted to embrace the culture. The thing is, what I was alluding to earlier, I grew up watching so much of these American Vietnam War films in which the Vietnamese people were either, in the background, invisible, or running through the jungles being shot at, or the enemy, or victims. Even films that where the heart's in the right place, basically the Vietnamese people were just victims. So I wanted to make a film that showed three-dimensional characters. The Vietnamese people could be the protagonist, and it could be flawed, but also it could be heroic, but also really important for me to not be the victim. Could be the people who are sort of controlling it, or in the sense that they could be, they had some control of themselves, and it wasn't always they weren't there just to be seen as being sort of the byproduct of war. You know what I mean? And so that was really important for me, and I wanted to embrace it in its full capacity. So show the people, show the language, but also show the poetry, and then show the music. Yeah, so early on, I knew those are some of the things I wanted to, put into the film.
Was the music and the songs, for example, these were traditional, or these were something that you worked with someone to write?
Yeah, so they're based on some traditional music. And so a lot of the poetry, all of the actual words of the poetry are original. So I wrote it in English. I gave it to my mom, who was actually an amateur poet, and she would translate to Vietnamese and make it better. And then I would write, look at the English, re-edit it, give it to my mom. She would then translate it back to, translate to Vietnamese. So we went back and forth, and so what ended up being, the poetry ended up being this collaboration between my mom and I for, over many drafts. But it's based on actually the poetry of Hamak Dao, which is a well-known famous poet in Vietnam who was a leper. And a lot of the music is based on Pham Duy, who is a very famous, one of Vietnam's, great music composers. So, but the lyrics itself are still original. We base it on, tone and textures of things that existed.
How did you find your actors? They're absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, so it's very, emotional and bittersweet watching this film. I just want to say off the bat, the Ciclo driver, who, is an amazing actor. He's actually my uncle. And, but it's bittersweet because he...
your whole family was involved. That's great.
But it's bittersweet because he actually passed away about 10 years ago. So he never got to see the film restored, and it's really emotional, and so it's really tough. And even something like this, I want to take pictures and show my mom, but it's really tough to show her because that's my mom's younger brother. So, and I know it's really tough for her. But the other actors, we did a huge casting call, and we saw. I tell you, the film. Like someone could have made a film or behind the scenes of the casting process because it was absolutely amazing. We had, for each of the roles, I think we saw maybe it's like 500-600 people, and people from all over Vietnam came by train. Sometimes, but they travel for days, and just so that they can read for us for like basically a minute and a half. But that time, for them, they saw getting into this film, which was an American production. It's almost like a golden ticket out of whatever they were, going through in their lives. So basically, each person that came and we interviewed and did a bit of a scene for us, we asked them, why they were there, where they come from, and honestly, the story of that to me is just incredible and deserves its own film. And all the street kids, we saw probably honestly 700 or 800 street kids, and some had families. Some, at one point we pulled up to the film studio and there was a row of street kids who slept there from the night to the morning because they didn't want to miss their appointment, And we saw them all. We collected these stories, and but it was really, but that whole process was so emotional, but also it gave us a sense of responsibility that we wanted to do it right and tell the story with care, and that was something that was on my mind, every day when I was there.
You succeeded. The film portrays your deep love for Japan. I'm sorry, for Vietnam. What was strange? What was the hard? I'm really sorry.
No,
about
it's
that.
okay.
What was the hardest part about portraying that?
Portraying Vietnam?
Vietnam and your love for Vietnam.
Absolutely okay. I mean, the hardest part, it was hard on different levels. One, on a more practical level, the infrastructure there was no real film infrastructure at the time. There's a lot more now. It's still not easy to make a film now in Vietnam, but back then there was no infrastructure whatsoever. A lot of the equipment we used actually was, old Russian equipment left behind. The sound stage, like the crane we used was like honestly from 1960s. Every day I thought someone was gonna it was gonna crash and someone was gonna get hurt. But so there's a lot of things that we were doing it for the first time, in the country, and we had to sort of invent new ideas, new ways of doing stuff, and the other difficulty is we had multiple languages. We had crew from America. I think we had 10 or 11 crew members from America, crew from Australia, India, Singapore, so everyone got, we had all these multiple languages on set, and so it was truly an international collaborative effort. So it was really, so that was, the language issue was difficult, and just trying to, it's a big film done on a really small independent budget, so we had something 46 different locations with location moves, and we shot the thing on celluloid, which is very, tough in that kind of humid, hot terrain. So I think just the difficulty, and then we knew, the script was written, it was, we storyboarded it, and we put a lot of time into the pre-production, so we knew what we were trying to do, but, I don't think any of us foresaw how just incredibly difficult it would be. But, I think we knew every day we were trying to do something really special. It was long hours, and again, thinking back, I'm not quite sure how we got through it, but we did, and it's all kind of a blur because we gave so much of ourselves into the film, but we did it because I think we knew we were doing something that was meaningful and special, and it's on the screen, so I'm really happy about that.
Yes. What would you do differently in your way of narrating Vietnam and its working class if you were to do this again?
Oh my gosh, that's such a tough question because, every single time I watch the film, I think about, oh my God, I could have done that differently, I could have done this differently. There isn't a time when I don't watch the film in which I'm not trying to fix something in the film. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so, I could have, I wish I had more time, developing that or doing this or, but that's, I think, any art form, right? They always say, with stories and storytelling, I'm sure it's for any artist, you never stop. You never finish, you just stop. And because you can keep on tinkering forever and keep on making little micro adjustments and so on and so forth. And even when it's complete, you still think about, and I still think about it. Actually, the only time in which I felt like I watched it as an audience member was actually at Columbia when I started Columbia, last fall. The film was played at the Lenfest Theater there. At the time, the restoration was not done yet. It was shown as 35 millimeter print. And I had not seen the film for probably, honestly, maybe 15 years.
And who held the print? Who has
No,
the
so
print?
there was a print. At that time, Universal had the print.
Okay.
Yeah, but we didn't know what the negative was. As I said earlier, it took us 6 weeks to find a negative. I honestly thought I lost it. But they had a 35 millimeter print, and we showed it. And I had not watched it probably 12 or 15 years. So I actually forgot some of the scenes, and I got to watch it for the first time ever as an audience member. And it was the most incredible feeling in the world because I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't trying to correct everything. I was actually kind of amazed. Oh yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, we did that. But I was able to just get deep into the rhythm of the film. And it was probably only one time ever in which I actually watched it, freely, just because so much time had passed. But today I was back to, oh my God, I could have fixed that. I could have done that. I wish we would have, had an extra take there. So, anyways.
how did you get your production designer, Wing Lee, involved in this beautiful film?
I actually don't remember. I have to say it was a long time ago. I don't remember how we crew up each. Do you remember?
I remember when I wrote the script.
Okay, wait.
Wait, can you say that in the mic, please? just kidding.
When I read the script, I was immediately attracted because it was the best script I ever read at the time. It really was. And also, as a designer, the fact that to design a temple on the lake, it was challenging, and so it was just a great story, and that you're attracted to great stories. And I was just amazed. You wrote this script when in your 20s, Tony, and it was just that was it. Basically, it was the story, and it was just a great script. And I knew I wanted to be involved. It was a great script, the story, and the fact that you designed a temple on the lake. And that there were challenges for that, and there were challenges for all the other things.
So what Wing is alluding to is that temple and that lake did not exist until we got there. It was basically, the lake existed, but we had to dig out more. There was no temple in the middle of the lake, and so we had to build that entire temple.
Right.
And I remember at one point, the production team came to me and says, "Well, can we just have like a land, strip of land that connected, to the temple, which makes it a lot easier." And I was like, that kind of loses the whole metaphor and point of isolation, and the lepers, wanted to be in this temple in the middle, surrounded by water. So, but we did it. We built the entire temple in a sound stage in Vietnam. And then one other thing with the lake scenes, so white lotuses like that don't actually grow in the South, but this, but we were filming the film in the South, so I had to film it in the South, and. So we actually planted the lotus flowers 3 months before, and we would shoot all the other scenes and wait till the last week to shoot the lotus scenes when all the lotuses would finally grow and bloom.
Yeah.
But what I did anticipate is that they die very quickly.
Right.
So we ended up at the last second, and you might probably remember this, Wing, we had to then build a bunch of fake lotuses, paint them white, stick them into the water. We had like 10,000 fake lotuses. So the irony is it's a film about the preserving real lotuses, but we shot them with fake lotuses.
Well,
And then piece by piece, we brought all the pieces of the temple and built it right in the middle of the lake. And it was incredibly, incredibly difficult and time consuming.
Well, if I remember right, we didn't shoot anything on the soundstage.
No. Oh, yeah. And it was built so securely, through your work, Wing, and the engineers and everyone, that every scene you saw inside that temple was actually shot in the temple on top of that lake.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Well, there were different challenges that you may not have seen that was not obvious. The whole part where the lotuses were tossed overboard and to float down the river.
Yeah.
The lotuses by themselves are pretty top heavy, so they would not float that way. I had to come up with a way of making them that way. You know lotuses, they're hollow.
Don't give away all of our secrets. Come on. It's the magic of cinema. We have to
Well, you're gonna have to write a different film.
I don't want to.
But
Next question. We're gonna give everything away.
Well, the red Fengvi.
No, I know. That's not it.
Okay.
Don't tell us everything.
Thank you.
I think there are some young filmmakers in the audience who aren't part of the Columbia Film School, and they'd like to know, besides chutzpah...
Wait, there's Columbia Film students here?
No. I mean, maybe there are, but I think these are not. And they're
okay.
asking you for free advice. Besides chutzpah, what else can help a young first-time filmmaker get a film made? And chutzpah and Harvey Keitel, of course.
No. I would actually say you don't need Harvey Keitel. So, the two things that I think are most important. So I teach film, I teach cinema, I teach at the Columbia School of the Arts. So and this question is brought to me a lot by the students, and I believe in this fully, and that is you have to identify early on what your voice is. And I know that sounds like a very sort of obvious answer, but it's not obvious to get it. It's very easy to see a lot of films and just basically say, I want to kind of be like that filmmaker or that filmmaker. And then in the process of doing it, it's really easy to get lost because you're not actually doing it for your reasons. You're just basically copying someone else's. So finding that voice. And then also when you speak to other people and crew up and get people to believe in you, especially when you're starting out, you have no money. So you're basically getting other people to go on this ride with you, and basically you're not paying them. They're probably in debt trying to make films with you. So you have to be able to sell your vision, and what you're really doing is selling your voice, and the fact that you have a vantage point, you have a view into something and want to say something to the world, and it's not about saying the most original thing, because there aren't really any original ideas, right? Everything's been done, but it's about saying something that means something to you. So when I find people to work with, what I find is I try to find people who, are passionate about what they're doing, and care about what they're doing. And like those people I want to, go on a journey with, because that we can ride the really difficult times, and filmmaking is incredibly difficult. It's about, and then so the people who want to work with you know that they're going to be in good hands with you because what you're doing, means something to you, and that's going to be felt in every scene and every beat of the film. The other thing I want to say is really important, and this is not so obvious, and that is what I meant by it's not about trying to find Harvey Keitel to make your film, because not everyone's gonna be able to do that, and I was very lucky. But it's really about looking to your peers. And I say this all the time. I say, if you're in film school, look to your peers. These are the people you want to grow with and rise with and lean on each other. Help the people around you, lift them up, and when it's your turn to make your film, they're going to lift you up and rise together. It's not about trying to find that famous person over there, and then hook on whatever, shine they have to help get some of that shine. No, it's about shining with the people who are starting out and rising together and finding this incredible tribe of artists that you can lean on and work together with. I'm telling you, that's going to get you through everything.
Can you tell us a little about your next project, about Nick Utt's famous photo of the Napalm Girl?
So besides teaching in the School of Arts, I'm artist in residence at the Weatherhead East Asian Institute at Columbia, and I have to give a quick shout out because the Weatherhead Institute was instrumental in helping me restore the film. I had a very short amount of time when it was accepted by Sundance to do it, and it was working with them. I was able to then get the initial seed money to start the process. And there's something about once someone steps in, it makes it real. And then from that, other people stepped in, more people stepped in and started giving the money to help with the restoration. So I'm really, really thankful for that. So, so Columbia had a hand in helping getting this made, which I'm really proud of. But anyways, my next film is, which I'm working on during my artist residency, is about the famous napalm photo. And it's a photo that was taken June 8th, 1972 by Nick Ut, who was the only Vietnamese to win the Pulitzer Prize during the Vietnam War. And I want to say, which is a huge emotional honor that we were able. So when he won it, he shot the photo in 1972. He won the Pulitzer in 1973. And the Pulitzer, as we know, is given out at Columbia. And he was not able to come to New York at the time because of the war. So he was never able to come to accept his award. And we were able then this year to hold an event 51 years later, and we were able to bring Nick Ut to Columbia, and we did a panel discussion with him in Pulitzer Hall, where he would have been 50 years ago, but he didn't get the chance. So he came, we did a conversation with him, and the little girl from the photo, Kim Phuc, and she came as well. And it was just an amazing, meaningful event at Pulitzer Hall at Columbia. So we were able to do that this year. And but my next film is about the day that photo was taken. It's not really about the photo, but it's about the day from multiple perspectives, from Nick, Kim Fook, the little girl who I've been working with closely on the film, and a few other characters, and it's about how all these characters, you know, have all these separate lives, and the sort of the forces that, you know, push them little by little to intersect that day when that photo is taken. And that photo in the end sort of the glue that connects all these stories. Yeah, so that's my next film.
We hope you don't have any struggles casting this time. And we look forward to that. You have to tell us what's going to happen to 3 Seasons. What's next? Are you going into theaters?
Oh yeah, so we've been very fortunate. This
Blu-ray?
film's had this, you know, second life. It played at Sundance. It played at the Udine Film Festival. It's playing here. It's playing Smithsonian. It's playing a lot of different festivals around the world. And once that's done, we plan to, now that we have, you know, a 4K digital version of the film, we can finally now have it, you know, either through, we're gonna sell it to either a streaming platform, Blu-ray and all that, but we're going to work through all that. And but the film now can be seen by people at home and all over the world, which it could not have been done before. So we're really happy about that.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Tony Bui.
Thank you.